Hello and welcome to BI Publisher Basics and Beyond. This this lab we are going to focus on loops and sorting. We are mainly going to look at certain syntaxes, and it's not going to be like other labs, but we would be going through a few examples of sorting, looping, and various other syntaxes. So our objective is to familiarize you with the for loops, sorting, and other key features within the BI Publisher. So as a pre-request, we make sure that you have installed the BI Publisher add-in in your desktop. So before we start, as always, there will be a zip file available for you to download. The zip file will have all the relevant details or relevant files that are required for executing this lab. So let's start with the look. Let's start by looking at the XML file we are going to research. So as I said, XML file has a root element, elements, and attributes. So the root element here is a row set. There's another child root called row, and there are different elements under that row, and there's an attribute specifically for that row. So let's get started, but we are not going to do we're not going to start everything from scratch. So we have 4 or 5 templates that are available. So let's go ahead and open the first one, and we will look into that. Before we do that, let's go ahead and see what we are going to do. So we're going to look at how to create a loop. We are going to look at notations like uh, double slashes, doubles. We'll cover this. So let's compare for each to the for each that we have created in the previous labs. So if you notice that it says for each row and end for each. So for each row is the root element, and you can see it's referring the number, which is the let's go back to the attribute. It's referring the attribute by an at symbol. Notice that it's referring the attribute symbol. So a dot and a slash indicates it's referring to. So if you look at the elements, the elements are EMP number, EMP name. Those doesn't have an asterisk, or those doesn't have an asterisk, it or an ampersand. I'm sorry, at symbol. It's because it's not an attribute; it's an element. The num is an attribute. Because the attribute is not under the root, we have to reference it by the parent. So that's the reason why we are using a dot and a slash. The dot and a slash indicate it goes to the previous. So coming back to the for each loop, so it's going to for each occurrence of this element row, it's going to bring in all these values. Let's go into sorting. So sorting syntax is simple. We just say sort department name, then sort the field name and the how it needs to be sorted. So the syntax is sort element name, or we can always use XSL sorting. So XXL. So this is the sort element name is equivalent to XXL sort element select equal element. So descending would indicates whether it's a descending order or ascending order. So the same syntax, if you look at XXL, with XXL sort, select name, order equal descending. The syntax is the same. So we can use multiple sorts. So for in this example, we would sort by department name followed by the employee number. If you do the XXL way, we'll be doing the same thing with the XXL sort department name first followed by the employee number. We can sort by we can specify the data type. For example, we are specifying the sort department name descending and employee number. It's a numeric field in the sort ascended. So if in XXL it will be the same. We could specify the data type, or you can type in you can have the data type as text or numeric or number. So the XXL syntax is XXL sort, select expression language. Let's look at a sample. So these are the sample files that are provided with the zip file. So let's select the sample file with a 001. So if you open this sample file, you would see that we have a header and an end header. So this is basically a way for me to hide these information. So if you look at the syntax of it, so let's go ahead and let's first upload the data. So I'm going to bring in the data. So if you look at the syntax of hider and end header, so you can highlight the fields you want to field browse it. So all I'm doing is if 1 equal 2, which the condition will never meet, and the end header is the end if for it. So if 1 equal 2, it will never happen. So this condition, these information will never be executed. So let's look at the table. The table, remember the table that we created from the in the previous example, it's the same table. So let's look at the field browser. So we can see here is so here I'm using a for each row, then I'm getting all the variables and for each. So let's go ahead and practice the sorting. So the first we would sort it by the department name descending. So I'm going to copy that. So I'm going to take this one and replace it with this. So let's update, close, and preview. So the first example, I'm going to sort it by the department name. Um, I may have to look and see what happened. I'm not sure, something got messed up and I had to restart the file. So let's go back and look at the header. Header. You can double click on it to see it too. So let's go ahead and copy this first syntax and into the. So if I look at the for, so let's go ahead and field browse it. So let's copy and paste the syntax, update, and close. Let's preview the data. So you can see it's sorted by the department name. Let's go ahead and try a XXL. Instead of I'm going to do this. I'm going to do the sorting by department name and the department name. So if you double click on this, it should open up. Sometimes you may see that reference number. That's because you have opened. If you see like that, it's because I have two versions of Word in my machine, and it's causing this issue. So if you ever see that, you just click on it, go to field browser. So you should be able to see the elements right there. So let's go ahead and change it. So I'm going to sort it by department name descending and employee number ascending. Update, close, preview. So you can see that I'm sorting it by department name followed by the name. So except the last one, you could go ahead and try all the other combinations. So except this one, you can try a different combination. So you can try the XXL way. So let's sort it by the XXL name. So you can, if you see that, I'm going to add it. Let's go to be a publisher, preview. So it's right now it's sorted by the name. Let's look at it one more time. Field browser. So department name. So again is department name descending. So you could try any of these combinations and see how the results vary. Let's take a look at the other example that we were looking at. It had the root element called catalog. Within that, you have another root element called artist, gartist, and underneath that artist, you have multiple CDs. So let's see how to leverage this. Let's try a few sorting with this XML. So from your zip file, open the 002 file. This would be specific for the G artist. Let's make sure we bring in the right sample. So I'm going to go to advanced. So if you look at again, so we have a for each. So we have a for each and an in for each. So let's look at the first for each for the artist. So we are going to sort it by the artist. So let's look at the field browser. So we have the G artist sort by artist descending. Yeah. So you can go ahead and try ascending if you want. And in the we're sorting it by price. You can always change it by different. You can always try any of the other combinations for the sorting. So let's go ahead and try this and see what happens. So at this time we are sorting it by uh, the artist. Let's look at the sorting one more time. We're sorting by the artist descending and by the price sort by price. So let's go ahead and change this price to a number. So I'm going to change the sorting into this sort by price number. Close, preview. So you can see it's being sorted properly. So 110, 12, 90. So you can play, you can try different sorting combinations. Um, you know, um, so you can try different sorting combinations and get familiarize yourself with it. The next concept we are going to look at is use of variables. How do you create variables in XML Publisher? So there are different ways to do it. The first way is simply by using the XXL method. So let's say if you want to create a variable called XYZ, we just can define it XXL variable name and the type. So you're defining. So this indicates that you're going to create a variable called XYZ, and it's going to be a number, and the default value is 8, or the value of 8 is assigned to it. So how do you access this variable? So use the $sign and XYZ. And the one thing I want to bring to your attention is that the 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 variable name is case sensitive. The only bad part about using this method is it's easy to build. It's easy to create a variable, but it's hard to manipulate it. Meaning, let's say if you want to keep a running total, or or something similar, you cannot use this method. So there's another way to do it. It's called XDO XSLT. The syntax is XDO XSLT set. The set would set the variable. So I'm going to create this variable and set the value to 0, and I'm going to get the variable, which means I can display the variable. How do I increment the variable? So I'm going to create a variable called raw count, and I'm going to get the variable raw count and increment by 1, or I can say it's the same way. I can get tax total increment by 1. So let's see how these are executed. So go ahead and open the template, which is 003. Let's go ahead and load the data basic template. So as I shown before, it has a start and a header. So it has a header region or a header region, which would store the store the information. So let's go ahead and try the first syntax. So in this particular, let's look at this field definition. Actually, we should use the artist one. Sorry. So let me go ahead and go back in and upload the artist template. So let's go ahead and do that. Let's go field browser. Let's see how is it field is. So we have defined a field called we have defined a field using the old method, or the XXL variable method. So we have defined a variable and we have assigned the number to it. So let's copy this from the header region, and I'm going to place it under here, and let's run it and see what happens. because there are so many for loops and in loops. So let's go ahead and cut this for the time being and do a preview. So if you want, you can save it as a different file. You can see the variable 8, it keeps coming up here, the new variable. So let's go back to the syntax. So we have defined the variable and we have defined the syntax. Let's go ahead and copy the next set down below the header region. So in this syntax, we have an artist. Let's look at this definition. So here we are selecting the artist name. We are defining a variable called artist name, and we are selecting the value, the artist. So we are selecting the value, the default value here. So let's go ahead and run this. And I'm going to remove these hider and hider so that it doesn't cause any confusion to the template. Let's go ahead and run it. So we can see that if you notice that the Bob Dylan is being shown all the time, let's go ahead and go to that template and make it small tweaking. Let's go back to the field. I'm going to change the artist to, I'm going to remove this update, close. Let's go ahead and remove this for now and preview it. Now if you see that the variable name completely is missing. Let's go back. So we have noticed that no matter what we try, so let's try all the combinations. So we tried the two sets, we tried um, uh, any parent, it's the same issue. So let's go ahead and let's try. So we're going to do, in the third step, we're going to try in context. Let's try the in context method and let's see if it resolves it. So I'm going to copy this section, copy, paste here. Let's look at the variable. So we are going to use we are going to use this keyword called in context, and we are going to select the artist, so the current parent artist. So let's go ahead and remove the hider. I'm removing the hider because it's taking my space. Let's go ahead and review it. So at this point, you can see the correct artist name is showing up. So at this time, let's go ahead and open the fourth template. So this template, we are going to use the XXLT set variable. So we are going to define a row count, and we will start with the we'll start with the first template. So we will continue. Make sure let's upload the right data. Let's go back and copy that right after the hider. So let's go ahead and remove the hider, or let's try without the hider. Let's see if it works. So this works. You can see that the variable is 0. Let's go ahead and do the second part. In this part, let's look at the syntax here. So we are setting the variable as row count, and in the variable definition, we are going to increment it by 1. So we're going to get the variable, and then we are going to increment it, and we're going to set the variable as we are going to basically increment it by 1, and we're going to get the variable. So let's go ahead and try this one. So I'm going to copy it, and I'm going to paste it here. Let's go ahead and see that. So you may wonder why this works and the previous one didn't work. I think there was some for loop that's causing that issue. So you can see that the variables are incrementing 1, 1, 2, 3, 4. So let's try the so this would give you the the incremental value. Let's get the artist name. So let's go ahead and see what we're doing here. So let's see what is being done. So we're going to get the row count as artist. We're going to get the variable as artist and display. Let's try this one. So what we are trying to do is we're trying to use variable. We're trying to see how the variables are defined and how it's being used within the BA publisher. So you will be using it quite a few. So you can see the artist name appears properly. So let's go ahead and try the last one, which is about concatenation. So concatenation is required, is a good feature to have. So you can concatenate different strings. So you can concatenate strings and and other variables. So for example, I'm concatenating a text, a variable, a message. You can have concatenate a variable. So let's go ahead and try one. So I have an example here. So concatenation. So let's try out the concatenation part. So so we have a variable that's defined. So the variable is uh, a row count, which is tied to an artist. So in the variable, so we're going to concatenate title and year. So let's try seeing the data. All right, we can see that the title and the year are concatenated. Let's go ahead and try let's go to this is the last one. No, it's a tiring. This is a long session. So let's go ahead and finish it off with concatenating the XDO variable. So the syntax is I'm going to concatenate text and the XDO variable that we have created. So if I look at the variable, that would be the syntax here, and this is the variable that we have defined. It's going to, even though it says row count, it's going to get the artist value. So let's go ahead and try it out. So you can see the values being concatenated. So I think this was a long chapter, and we have pretty much covered the sorting. We have gone through a little bit of for loops. We have seen how to create a variable, and we have tried to concatenate a few. We have tried to increment a variable. So we would, you can definitely leverage those templates, play with it a little bit more, get more familiarized with it, and we would, we would continue again in the next chapters. Thank you, and we will look forward to seeing you. I know this was a long, lengthy chapter. My goal is to try to limit to 10 or 15 minutes, but sometimes it doesn't happen. Thank you. I'm looking forward to seeing you.